For usual living on this channel for educational purposes only, is not intended as financial advice. It is Wednesday. Let's take a look at some altcoins. We didn't have a macro Monday this week because of MLK. So let's briefly go over inflation and rates. Inflation getting crushed on Trueflation, down below 1.5% now. And if we look at the rate cut odds, we are firmly in no cut next meeting. No cuts effectively till mid-year. So we'll see if that sticks. Based on what we're seeing with inflation, it would likely take a jump in unemployment to move odds, but we have set the table at least for a cut, additionally beyond what we are pricing in, at least in my opinion, based on the inflation data. Looking at the rest of the week, we have GDP tomorrow, personal income, PCE, core PCE. So these are going to be important as additional metrics to show that ideally these are coming way under expectations. These are going to be from who knows when, November, October, delayed report. Yeah. So all sorts of delayed data coming in, lower data integrity coming in. Keep that in mind. And then next week is FOMC. That should be fun with Jay on the podium in the purple tie talking about Fed independence. I'm sure he's going to answer zero questions about that. So for alts, what I continue to just not understand, it makes zero sense to me based on everything we're seeing, based on bad news having more of an effect than good news, based on alts kind of swirling down the drain collectively. Why isn't dominance higher? Why does this pattern continue to look viable? If this does play out, it's going to be the biggest hero call of hero calls, because fundamentally it makes no sense. Technically it makes no sense, but here we are on the 3-day with dominance, still bearish on the cloud. That's pro alts, still very much a head and shoulders, which would be pro alts. If anything, just pro ETH, pro Sol. Those are the biggest components of dominance. We're already seeing that with Mag 7 versus IWM, ultra caps versus small caps. We're seeing the pendulum swing towards the relative value plays in small caps. Certainly haven't seen that in alts yet, but this is still here. And this is, to me, intact until we close a 3-day above 61%. Then it's at risk. But this is very much real to me. So it's way too early to position for this, in my opinion, but it is definitely a setup worth paying attention to. Now, there's been people for, since 2021 who are like, it's alt season every other day, and they've been disappointed for years. So I'm not one of those people. I'm just reading the chart, and that is a bearish setup on dominance. It's a bullish setup on the inverse, which is total 2 ES over BTC. Alts, BTC, basically. You're getting an inverted head and shoulders. You're getting a little tease here of a Kumo twist. This is a bullish setup, a bearish to bullish reversal. Will it play out? I don't know. Go look at TLT. That one's been trying to set up for a few years. That could be the case with this chart as well. But it's not there, as I like to say. Definitely worth keeping an eye on, having some alerts set. Total 2 broadly kind of looks like BTC as well. You've got some Sol in here, you've got some ETH in here. The real question for BTC and ETH is, can this current low hold? Can this set up as an inverted head and shoulders versus a bear flag, bear pennant, whatever you want to call it, which is how a lot of people have been drawing it. I think the difference is whether or not we can recover here. If we recover here, great. If it goes up, it keeps going up. If it goes down, it keeps going down. That's basically where I'm at. Not a strong read, but it is fighting for its life, and it is trying to hold a bullish setup. Trying. Ultimately, it needs to get back into the cloud. Already has the bullish TK cross. Now, many people have asked me, what if we get a bearish TK? Or let's just go to BTC, right? What if we get a bearish TK cross here, right? Is that a short signal? Absolutely. Will I personally be taking that short signal? Absolutely not. But you can do it on something like BITI if you want. You can take puts. You can do whatever else on IBIT. This is inverse BTC. You'd argue this is a flag, right, or something. This looks pretty good to the long side, which is a problem if you're bullish, if this is inverse. So we are very much at a place where there's a decision to be made pretty soon here across the board. This looked great. You had an ascending triangle, price in the cloud, edge to edge setup. Still there, it's at risk. It is not what you want to see. You don't want to see a fake out breakout, just give it all back and then have some nonsense geopolitical garbage, just fuel this even lower. That is not what you want to see as you're breaking out. I'll also mention stablecoins have really slowed here on issuance. USDC has curled down while Tether has sort of held its ground here. Two catalysts to watch for. Who knows if they'll matter? Who knows if they'll matter in time? Who knows if they'll be detrimental? Would be the Clarity Act and the Genius Act, market structure, and stablecoins. One would think, one would assume, we are going to see a Cambrian explosion of stablecoins once the Genius Act is passed. We may see a USDT take off, but all that remains to be seen. And we don't have any of those bills in the US just yet. So for BTC, really more of the same. I am unfortunately still slightly long on IBIT calls. I am long on Metaplanet, which it gave a bunch back. Doesn't look as bad as IBIT. Doesn't look as bad as Spot BTC, still in the cloud. Not something you want to be, in when it gives back as much as it does, but that's trading, folks. I mean, that's a 22% decline, 25% decline. Still a great setup, still a great breakout, still in the cloud, still looks good. It just is what it is. Another one I've been watching, very, very, very edge case would be a low time frame inverted head and shoulders and MSTR. Some people are going to hear me say that and they're going to be like, yes, I'm going to go long MSTR right now. This is the time. False. These 4-hour patterns fail all the time. They fail more often than daily patterns. Another question I get all the time. What about trading alts on the 4-hour? Everything keeps failing. Well, it's failing because there's more noise on the 4-hour. There's more noise on low time frames. You're going to see more stuff. There's going to be more actionability, but the odds that stuff plays out goes down significantly, in my opinion. So you can see my alert. My alerts are at 180. I like it at 180. Then we'll see. Then maybe you get this pattern. You probably see the pattern on BTC play out. But we are early, folks, on anything with MSTR. Look at the daily. Daily's sort of free floating here. Not really much going on. You are setting up for something, I don't know, maybe February, April, 180 to 250. That's a trade. There was a trade back here that didn't really play out, and I'm spending so much time on this because alts, I don't know what it's going to take. Again, dominance doesn't make sense because alts all pretty much look like hot garbo. ETH-BTC falling below the cloud after trying to set up. There's nothing there. Sol BTC, really nothing amazing. I mean, it's trying to get into the cloud, but USD pairs, we'll take a look. But across the board, is there anything? This stuff tried. It tried. It's going to fail harder, faster, stronger than BTC does when it fails. That's the issue. So is it possible that this plays out bullishly? Yeah, but again, you don't want to see a breakout about to occur and then give everything back, puke out of the range, and now what, right? This is not this. This is where you want to be. That's where you want to live. That is above 3,800, 3,700. This, you're just sort of fighting for scraps. So it is not the best of times here for alts. Sol on the USD pair. This could give you something like this, whatever. Inverted head and shoulders, complex IHS, something like that. But how long do you want to hold the position? Where's your stop loss? Those are the real questions. The real question isn't like, what can you draw on the chart? Okay, anybody can do that. The real questions are the trading questions. If this goes below 125, what do you do? If you're in leverage, if you're in Sol T, and this goes below 125, what do you do? As people are going to ask me, they're obsessed with what I'm doing. Josh, what are you doing with your Sol T positioning? Well, I'm holding it until we hit whatever level this is, 591? Sure. That's my plan. What's your plan? Is it possible this plays out? It's possible. Unlikely, but it's possible. As we go down the stack here, it doesn't look any better. I think Curve was the only one that really stood out to me last week. Ripple, no. SEI just continues its downtrend. H-bar downtrend. At this point, we're filling the 10-10 wick. There's nothing going on. Curve looked good because it, again, tried to get into the cloud, got denied. Okay, next chart, next trade. LTC's in a bit of a pickle here. It's in a bounce or die situation because this is a decade-long support that it has bounced from several times. We can highlight this. We can say there. This is a pretty big imaginary line, is my point. I think a few people have seen this at this point, but not a level you want to be losing if you're bullish. If you contrast that with Monero, these are resistance levels you want to be losing to the upside if you're bullish. It's that simple. If you were bullish, you would be at resistance, knocking on the door, not at support, knocking on the door. So not a place where I'd be super comfortable at the moment on LTC. Link again, there's nothing to say. There's nothing to do. This could be a setup eventually, but I like Sol better. I like ETH better. I like BTC better. I like stuff at the top of the stack better. The downside risk to me is too significant to play around in alts right now. And I think you can wait. ENA, Algo, ETC, these are all the same chart. BNB, sure. I don't trade BNB anymore, so it's just not for me. But again, is there anything in my voice that's giving you any hint of bullishness? No. And I love the hype people. Hype people are the best. God bless them. Everything's bullish all the time, always, even this super low time frame. Inverted head and shoulders that played out to the downside. Again, I don't care if I see this on the 1 minute, on the 5 minute, on the 15 minute, on the 500 minute. I'm never going long when there's any head and shoulders risk. But yeah, this thing puked out the cloud and has continued to puke lower. The next time it's going to puke higher is going to be something like this. And we are not in that regime currently. Next chart. Sorry, you can hit me with any fundamental anything. You can hit me with tokenomics, people, devs. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. AVEX was another one. Trying to set up. Sort of puked out. Not quite ready yet. The setup is still there. Never triggered. Never gotten in the cloud. We'll keep going. The pain is real. ADA, setup is there. ARB, OP, IMX, Near, Wormhole, all these just look atrocious. DYDX, DOT, Ondo, Flow, it doesn't, we can just wrap it up, right? I mean, there's just nothing, there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing here. CRO, also nothing there. Doge, no. Pengu has a shot, maybe. If this is not a head and shoulders inverted, could be some sort of diamond situation. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too hopeful. Of all of the memes, Pengu looked like it was setting up to me the best. And that's kind of saying a lot because it doesn't look great at the moment. And if you're timing this stuff, there's just no reason to be sitting in alts now. You want to see an alt that continues to do well. It's this one. It's silver, right? This is where people are at. I wouldn't touch this. I wouldn't touch this at 74. I didn't touch this at 55 when I should have. That's on me. But this is a bull trend in case you forgot what it looked like. Not anything in alts at the moment. So TLDW, I would stick to large cap alts. If you don't like BTC, try your hand at some Sol or ETH. The rest of this stuff looks atrociously awful still. That's all I got for this one. Give me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.